Physical development in early childhood. Objectives. After this chapter, you should be able to describe the physical changes that occur in early childhood. Explain how to provide health nutrition for 3 to 5-year-olds. Summarize how to support the progression of motor skills with age-appropriate activities. Discuss the sleep needs during early childhood and sleep disorders that may affect children. Explain the development behind toilet training and some elimination disorders that children may experience. Recognize the importance of awareness of sexual development in early childhood. Discuss risks to and a variety of ways to promote and protect children's health and safety. Introduction. During the early childhood years of 3 to 5, we see significant changes in the way children look, think, communicate, regulate their emotions, and interact with others. Children are often referred to as preschoolers during this time period. We'll examine the physical changes of the preschooler in this chapter. Growth in early childhood. Children between the ages of 2 and 6 years tend to grow about 3 inches in height each year and gain about 4 to 5 pounds in weight each year. The 3-year-old is very similar to a toddler with a large head, large stomach, short arms and legs. But by the time the child reaches age 6, the torso has lengthened and body proportions have become much more like those of adults. The average 6-year-old weighs approximately 46 pounds and is about 46 inches in height. This growth rate is slower than that of infancy. Nutritional concerns. The slower rate of growth is accompanied by a reduced appetite between the ages of 2 and 6. This change can sometimes be surprising to parents and lead to the development of poor eating habits. However, children between the ages of 2 and 3 need 1,000 to 1,400 calories, while children between the ages of 4 and 8 need 1,200 to 2,000 calories. Caregivers who have established a feeding routine with their child can find the reduction in appetite a bit frustrating and become concerned that their child is going to starve. However, by providing adequate, sound nutrition and limiting sugary snacks and drinks, the caregiver can be assured that, first, the child will not starve, and second, the child will receive adequate nutrition. Preschoolers can experience iron deficiencies if not given well-balanced nutrition, or if they are given too much milk, as calcium interferes with the absorption of iron in the diet as well. Caregivers need to keep in mind that they are setting up taste preferences at this age. Young children who grow accustomed to high-fat, very sweet and salty flavors may have trouble eating foods that have more subtle flavors such as fruits and vegetables. Consider the following advice about establishing eating patterns for years to come. Notice that keeping mealtime pleasant, providing sound nutrition, and not engaging in power struggles over food are the main goals. Tips for establishing healthy eating habits. Don't try to force your child to eat or fight over food. Of course, it is impossible to force someone to eat, but the real advice here is to avoid turning food into a power struggle so that food doesn't become a way to gain favor with or express anger toward someone else. Recognize that appetite varies. Children may eat well at one meal and have no appetite at another. Rather than seeing this as a problem, it may help to realize that appetites do vary. Continue to provide good nutrition at each mealtime, even if children don't choose to eat the occasional meal. Keep it pleasant. This tip is designed to help caregivers create a positive atmosphere during mealtime. Mealtime should not be the time for arguments or expressing tensions. You do not want the child to have painful memories of mealtimes together, or have problems eating and digesting food due to stress. No short order chefs. While it is fine to prepare foods that children enjoy, preparing a different meal for each child or family member sets up an unrealistic expectation from others. Children probably do best when they are hungry and a meal is ready. Limiting snacks rather than allowing children to graze continuously can help create an appetite for whatever is being served. Limit choices. If you give your preschool-age child choices, make sure that you give them one or two specific choices rather than asking, "What would you like for lunch?" If given an open choice, children may change their minds or choose whatever their sibling does not choose. Serve balanced meals. Meals prepared at home tend to have better nutritional value than fast food or frozen dinners. Prepared foods tend to be higher in fat and sugar content, as these ingredients enhance taste and profit margin because fresh food is often more costly and less profitable. However, preparing fresh food at home is not costly. It does, however, require more activity. Including children in meal preparation can provide a fun and more memorable experience. Don't bribe. Bribing a child to eat vegetables by promising dessert is not a good idea. First, the child will likely find a way to get the dessert without eating the vegetables, by whining or fidgeting perhaps until the caregiver gives in. Secondly, it teaches the child that some foods are better than others. Children tend to naturally enjoy a variety of foods until they are taught that some are considered less desirable than others. A child, for example, may learn that broccoli they have enjoyed is seen as yucky by others unless it's smothered in cheese sauce. USDA Meal Patterns for Young Children. The United States Department of Agriculture, Food, and Nutrition Service provides the following guidance for the daytime feeding of children aged 3 to 5. Breakfast: 3/4 cup milk, a half cup vegetables, fruit, or both, a half ounce equivalent grains. Lunch or supper: 3/4 cup milk, 1.5 ounces meat or meat alternative, 1/4 cup vegetables, 1/4 cup fruits, half ounce equivalent of grains. Snack: select two of the following: half cup of milk, half ounce meat or meat alternative, half cup of vegetables, half cup of fruit, half ounce equivalent of grains. Brain maturation. Brain weight. The brain is about 75% its adult weight by 2 years of age. By age 6, it is approximately 95% its adult weight. Myelination and the development of dendrites continues to occur in the cortex, and as it does, we see a corresponding change in the child's abilities. Significant development in the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain behind the forehead that helps us to think, strategize, and control emotion, makes it increasingly possible to control emotional outbursts and to understand how to play games. Consider 4 to 5-year-old children and how they might approach a game of soccer. Chances are, every move would be a response to the commands of a coach standing nearby calling out, "Run this way, now stop, look at the ball, kick the ball." And when a child is not being told what to do, he or she is likely to be looking at the clover on the ground or a dog on the other side of the fence. Understanding the game, thinking ahead, coordinating movement, and handling losing improve with practice and myelination. Visual pathways. Children's drawings are representative of the development of visual pathways. As children's brains mature, the images in their drawings change. Early scribbles and dots illustrate the use of simple motor skills. No real connection is made between an image being visualized and what is created on paper. At age 3, the child begins to draw wispy creatures with heads and not much other detail. Gradually, pictures begin to have more detail and incorporate more parts of the body. Arm buds become arms, and faces take on noses, lips, and eventually eyelashes. Growth in the hemispheres in corpus callosum. Between ages 3 and 6, the left hemisphere of the brain grows dramatically. This side of the brain, or hemisphere, is typically involved in language skills. The right hemisphere continues to grow throughout early childhood and is involved in tasks that require spatial skills, such as recognizing shapes and patterns. The corpus callosum, which connects the two hemispheres of the brain, undergoes a growth spurt between ages 3 and 6 and results in improved coordination between right and left hemisphere tasks. Motor skill development. Early childhood is a time when children are especially attracted to motion and song. Days are filled with jumping, running, swinging, and clapping, and every place becomes a playground. Even the booth at a restaurant affords the opportunity to slide around in the seat or disappear underneath and imagine being a sea creature in a cave. Of course, this can be frustrating to a caregiver, but it's the business of early childhood. Gross motor skills. Children continue to improve their gross motor skills as they run and jump. They frequently ask their caregivers to look at me while they hop or roll down a hill. Children's songs are often accompanied by arm and leg movements or cues to turn around or move from left to right. Gross motor milestones. There are common milestones in the progression of gross motor skills that children will typically develop during early childhood. By 3 years of age, children can typically climb well, run easily, pedal a tricycle, walk up and down the stairs 1 foot on each step. By 4 years of age, children typically can hop and stand on 1 foot up to 2 seconds. Catch a bounced ball most of the time. By 5 years of age, children can typically stand on 1 foot for 10 seconds or longer, hop, may even be able to skip, do a somersault, use the toilet on their own, and swing and climb. Activities to support gross motor skills. Here are some activities focused on play that young children enjoy and that support their gross motor skill development. Tricycle, slides, swings, sit and spin, mini trampoline, bowling pins, tent, try throwing blankets over chairs and other furniture to make a fort, playground ladders, suspension bridge on a playground, tunnels, try throwing a beanbag chair underneath for greater challenge, ball play, kick, throw, catch, Simon Says, target games with beanbags or balls, etc., dancing, moving to music, pushing self on scooter or skateboard while on stomach. Fine motor skills. Fine motor skills are also being refined as they continue to develop more dexterity, strength, and endurance. Fine motor skills are very important as they are foundational to self-help skills and later academic abilities such as writing. Fine motor milestones. There are common milestones for the progression of fine motor skills that children will typically develop during early childhood. By 3 years of age, most children will be able to copy a circle with a pencil or a crayon, turn book pages one at a time, build towers of more than 6 blocks, screw and unscrew jar lids or turn door handles. By 4 years of age, most children will be able to pour, cut with supervision, and mash their own food, draw a person with 2 to 4 body parts, use scissors, start to copy some capital letters. By 5 years of age, many children will be able to draw a person with at least 6 body parts, print some letters or numbers, copy a triangle and other geometric shapes, use a fork and spoon and sometimes a table knife. Activities to support fine motor skills. Here are some fun activities that will help children continue to refine their fine motor abilities. Fine motor skills are slower to develop than gross motor skills, so it is important to have age-appropriate expectations and play-based activities for children. Pouring water into a container, drawing and coloring, using scissors, finger painting, finger plays and songs such as the Itsy Bitsy Spider, Play-Doh, lacing and beading, practicing with large tweezers, tongs, and eyedroppers. Sleep and early childhood. Along with food and water, sleep is one of the human body's most important physiological needs. We cannot live without it. Extended sleeplessness, such as lack of sleep for longer than a few days, has severe psychological and physical effects. Research on rats has found that a week of no sleep leads to loss of immune function, and 2 weeks of no sleep leads to death. Recently, neuroscientists have learned that at least one vital function of sleep is related to learning and memory. New findings suggest that sleep plays a critical role in flagging and storing important memories, both intellectual and physical, and perhaps in making subtle connections that were invisible during waking hours. How much sleep do we need? The amount of sleep an individual needs varies depending on multiple factors, including age, physical condition, psychological condition, and energy exertion. Just like any other human characteristic, the amount of sleep people need to function best differs among individuals, even those of the same age and gender. Though there is no magic sleep number, there are general rules for how much sleep certain age groups need. For instance, children need more sleep per day in order to develop and function properly, up to 18 hours for newborn babies, with a declining rate as a child ages. A newborn baby spends almost 9 hours a day in REM sleep. By the age of 5, only slightly over 2 hours is spent in REM. Studies show that young children need about 10 to 11 hours of sleep. Adolescents need between 8.5 and 9.25, and adults generally need between 7 to 9 hours. Sleepwalking, somnambulism. Sleepwalking, sometimes called sleepwalking disorder, somnambulism, or noctambulation, causes a person to get up and walk during the early hours of sleep. The person may sit up and look awake, though they're actually asleep. Get up and walk around, move items, or dress or undress themselves. They will have a blank stare and still be able to perform complex tasks. Some individuals also talk while in their sleep, saying meaningless words and even having arguments with people who are not there. A person who sleepwalks will be confused upon waking up and may also experience anxiety and fatigue. Sleepwalking can be dangerous. People have been known to seriously hurt themselves during sleepwalking episodes. It is most common in children, but also occurs occasionally in adults. For adults, alcohol, sedatives, medications, medical conditions, and mental disorders are all associated with sleepwalking. Sleep terrors and nightmare disorder. Sleep terrors are characterized by a sudden arousal from deep sleep with a scream or cry, accompanied by some behavioral manifestations of intense fear. Sleep terrors typically occur in the first few hours of sleep during stage 3 non-REM sleep. Night terrors tend to happen during the periods of arousal from delta sleep, slow wave sleep. They are worse than nightmares, causing significant disorientation, panic, and anxiety. They can last up to 10 minutes, and the person may be screaming and difficult to wake. In some cases, sleep terrors continue into adulthood. Distinct from sleep terrors is nightmare disorder. Also known as dream anxiety disorder, nightmare disorder is characterized by frequent nightmares. The nightmares, which often portray the individual in a situation that jeopardizes their life or personal safety, usually occur during the second half of the sleeping process called the REM stage. Though many people experience nightmares, those with nightmare disorder experience them more frequently. Toilet training. Toilet training typically occurs after the second birthday. Some children show interest by age 2, but others may not be ready until months later. The average age for girls to be toilet trained is 29 months, and for boys, it is 31 months. And 98% of children are trained by 36 months. The child's age is not as important as his or her physical and emotional readiness. If started too early, it might take longer to train a child. According to the Mayo Clinic, the following questions can help parents determine if a child is ready for toilet training. Does your child seem interested in the potty chair or toilet, or in wearing underwear? Can your child understand and follow basic directions? Does your child tell you through words, facial expressions, or posture when he or she needs to go? Does your child stay dry for periods of 2 hours or longer during the day? Does your child complain about wet or dirty diapers? Can your child pull down his or her pants and pull them up again? Can your child sit on and rise from a potty chair? If a child resists being trained or is not successful after a few weeks, it is best to take a break and try again when they show more significant interest in the process. Most children master daytime bladder control first, typically within 2 to 3 months of consistent toilet training. However, nap and nighttime training may take months or even years. Elimination disorders. Some children experience elimination disorders, including enuresis, involuntary urination, especially by children at night, or encopresis, involuntary defecation. The prevalence of enuresis is 5% to 10% for 5-year-olds, 3 to 5% for 10-year-olds, and approximately 1% for those 15 years of age or older. Around 1% of 5-year-olds have encopresis, and it is more common in males than females. These are diagnosed by a medical professional and may require treatment. Health in early childhood. While preschoolers are becoming more and more independent, they depend on their caregivers to keep protecting and promoting their health. Childhood obesity. Childhood obesity is a complex health issue. It occurs when a child is well above the normal or healthy weight for his or her age and height. Childhood obesity is a serious problem in the United States, putting children at risk for poor health. In 2015 to 2016, 13.9% of 2 to 5-year-olds were obese. Causes of obesity. The causes of excess weight gain in young people are similar to those in adults, including factors such as a person's behavior and genetics. Behaviors that influence excess weight gain include eating high-calorie, low-nutrient foods, not getting enough physical exercise, sedentary activities such as watching television or other screen devices, medication use, sleep routines. Consequences of obesity. The consequences of childhood obesity are both immediate and long-term. It can affect physical as well as social and emotional well-being. More immediate health risks. High blood pressure and high cholesterol, which are risk factors for cardiovascular disease. Increased risk of impaired glucose tolerance, insulin resistance, and type 2 diabetes. Breathing problems, such as asthma and sleep apnea. Joint problems and musculoskeletal discomfort. Fatty liver disease, gallstones, and gastroesophageal reflux, such as heartburn. Childhood obesity is also related to psychological problems such as anxiety and depression, low self-esteem, and lower self-reported quality of life, social problems such as bullying and stigma. Future health risks. Children who have obesity are more likely to become adults with obesity. Adult obesity is associated with increased risk of a number of serious health conditions, including heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. If children have obesity, their obesity and disease risk factors in adulthood are likely to be more severe. Food allergies. A food allergy occurs when the body has a specific and reproducible immune response to certain foods. The body's immune response can be severe and life-threatening, such as anaphylaxis. Although the immune system normally protects people from germs, in people with food allergies, the immune system mistakenly responds to food as if it were harmful. 8 foods, or food groups, account for 90% of serious allergic reactions in the United States. Milk, eggs, fish, crustacean shellfish, wheat, soy, peanuts, and tree nuts. The symptoms and severity of allergic reactions to food can be different between individuals and can also be different for one person over time. Anaphylaxis is a sudden and severe allergic reaction that may cause death. Not all allergic reactions will develop into anaphylaxis. Children with food allergies are 2 to 4 times more likely to have asthma or other allergic conditions than those without food allergies. The prevalence of food allergies among children increased 18% during 1997 to 2007. And allergic reactions to foods have become the most common cause of anaphylaxis in community health settings. Although difficult to measure, research suggests that approximately 4% of children and adolescents are affected by food allergies. The CDC recommends that as part of maintaining a healthy and safe environment for children, caregivers should be aware of any food allergies. Educate other children and all adults that care for a child with food allergies. Ensure the daily management of food allergies. Prepare for food allergy emergencies. Conclusion. In this chapter, we looked at the physical characteristics of preschoolers, healthy nutrition, the changes in the brain, the progression of motor skills and developmentally appropriate ways to support that development, sleep and sleep disorders, toilet training and elimination disorders, and ways to keep children healthy and safe. In the next chapter, we'll investigate how children understand the world and their communication abilities.